Welcome, dear listeners. Today, we present to you a short story titled The Lady of Springtime. And now, let's dive into the heart of our story. Nightfall descended upon the cold and lonely room. I sighed softly, glancing at my husband sleeping soundly beside me. He was a good man, a model husband. He worked hard and earned a good living. To want more from him felt greedy, almost unnecessary. My husband's name is Richard, and he's nearing 60. He's a successful contractor. He doesn't drink, party, or chase after other women, the ideal man many would dream of. At gatherings, I'd hear whispers of admiration, praising him. But their words brought me no joy. My name is Nina, and I'm 45. I run our little grocery store, corner store, quaint fixture in our neighborhood. To everyone else, we were the perfect couple. Never a harsh word exchanged, a picture of blissful matrimony. But deep down, I wasn't happy. A chilling loneliness had taken root in my heart, making me feel lost in my own home. Many are probably wondering why I'm not content with my life. After all, many would trade places with me in a heartbeat. But only those who have walked in my shoes can truly understand. My Richard, he's hardworking, loving, a devoted father. But in the bedroom, he's lacking. To put it bluntly, a man can be successful in every other aspect, but if he falters in that area, it's like a chink in his armor, a silent defeat. It hasn't always been this way. Or rather, it has, but I chose to ignore it. Life was hectic when the kids were young. I barely had time to think about my own needs, let alone dwell on unmet desires. But now, with the kids grown and gone, things are quiet. It's just me and Richard, and suddenly it feels like we're strangers sharing a bed, not lovers. I have too much time to think, remember, to yearn. When night falls and I lie beside him, a deep longing stirs within me, craving for that passionate connection, for the fireworks that once lit up our nights. I've tried everything to rekindle the flame, to help him help me. I take care of myself, always fragrant and alluring, but it makes no difference. It's always the same. A few fleeting moments of pleasure, and then, nothing. I even researched remedies, concoctions promising to reawaken his vitality. Herbs, tonics, I even had a collection of strange jars hidden away. But alas, nothing worked. The thought of seeking solace elsewhere, of stepping outside my marriage to quench this thirst, had crossed my mind countless times. But guilt would always rear its ugly head. I couldn't bear the thought of betraying Richard, of tarnishing our history. Yet, this impossible situation, this stifling lack, was slowly chipping away at my sanity. What was I to do? Recently, Richard's work took him out of state. Everyone's out there, he'd say, promising a weekly visit to ease the loneliness. So here I was, alone in our empty house, consumed by a desire that refused to be silenced. Just once, I wanted to feel truly alive again, to experience that fiery passion that felt like a distant memory. Around 7 a.m., my phone buzzed me awake. "Lo," I mumbled, my voice thick with sleep. "Girl, why are you whispering? And why are you still in bed? Don't girl me, it's too early for this. Get up and get some breakfast in you. I'm picking you up in 10 minutes. "You're what? Are you off today?" "Every day is a day off for me, honey. Remember? What else would I be doing at this ungodly hour? Just messing around at home." "You work hard, Nina. Time to enjoy yourself." All right. Let me freshen up, I'll be ready." I hung up, a strange mix of anticipation and dread bubbling inside me. Quickly showered, fixed my hair, and slipped into a flattering dress. Staring back at me in the mirror was a woman I barely recognized. A confident, almost radiant version of myself. It had been a while since I'd allowed myself to feel this attracted. My reflection seemed to wink as Deborah's familiar knock echoed from the front door. Deborah, despite being the same age, could easily pass for years younger. She had this way about her, a certain effortless style that I envied. Her skin, even after all these years, was flawless, a testament to her meticulous skincare routine, I supposed. She could give women half her age a run for their money. We were quite the pair as we headed out for breakfast that morning, then to our usual Starbucks. Dresses, perfect makeup, designer bags, a spritz of expensive perfume. We might as well have been society ladies out for a midday rendezvous. As we sipped our lattes, Deborah, always the astute one, remarked, "You know, Nina, you've worked hard your whole life. Richard's doing well, the kids are grown. It's time you enjoyed yourself." "Easy for you to say," I countered. "You're living the dream, renting that gorgeous place, zero responsibilities." "Honey, Please, you're no worse off. You run that store because you want to, not because you have to. She winked, tone playful. Besides, all that money Richard's making, you deserve a little fun. Gets boring, Deborah, you know? Richard's gone most of the time, says everyone's out of state these days. Comes home once a week tops, and me? Stuck here. It gets lonely. Honey, tell me about it. My guy's the same, always on some business trip. At least he leaves a generous deposit in my account every month. Money to burn, kids are gone. It gets old, you know? That's why we gotta spice things up a bit. You're still young, Mina. Enjoy it while it lasts. You think you can shake it like this when you're 80? She burst out laughing, and I couldn't help but chuckle along, despite the heaviness in my chest. But seriously, how do you do it, Deborah? You're always so upbeat. Is your guy, attentive at least? Honey, please, don't even get me started. If he had the energy to chase anything other than his next deal, maybe I could overlook a few things. But let's just say age hasn't been kind to him in that rent. Is that bad? She just nodded, a knowing look in her eyes. It's the same story with Richard, you know. It's embarrassing to admit, but over 20 years of marriage, and I've never truly felt satisfied. Once a week, if we're lucky. 2 minutes, tops. And that's it. Deborah burst into laughter, clapping her hands together as she looked at me with a mixture of amusement and pity. Honey, you're telling me 2 minutes? Girl, that's barely enough time to get the groceries out of the car. She shook her head, still chuckling. And you're telling me this after all those herbal remedies you tried? Please. He's been a lost cause since the pandemic, probably way before. All that good food, all that free time, and he just gets rounder instead of rounder where it counts, if you know what I mean. Some guys are just born that way, I guess. It's true, I exclaimed, feeling a surge of camaraderie. It's like they forget that intimacy is the foundation of a good marriage. Without it, well, it's just plain dull. Dull is an understatement, honey. Trust me, I've been there. It's enough to make a girl consider drastic measures. Her voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Listen, I'm just saying. There are other options. Discreet, no strings attached, mutually beneficial arrangement. Wait, are you suggesting? My voice trailed off, a mixture of shock and curiosity swirling inside me. Let's just say sometimes a girl's gotta do what a girl's gotta do. Find a nice young man, have a little fun, slip him a couple $100 afterward. Think of it as an investment in your happiness, darling. And trust me, these guys, they're all about pleasing their clients, guaranteed to show you a good time and discreet as they come. She winked. How do I know? Let's just say a girl's gotta have her secret. Don't get me wrong, honey. It's not like my guy's incapable. He's just preoccupied. She chuckled, taking a sip of her latte. Always working, always traveling, says everyone's out of state these days. So why bother? Why not just find a little something on the side myself? She finished my sentence, her eyes twinkling. Because sometimes a girl needs more than just function, you know? A girl's gotta feel that spark, that fire. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a husky whisper. And let me tell you, honey, when you find the right one, it's electric. Like being young again, but better. I felt a shiver run down my spine. Deborah's words, as always, were both intriguing and terrifying. Could I really go through with something like this? She must have read the hesitation on my face because she smiled softly and said, So, what do you say, Nina? Ready to take a walk on the wild side? Part of me, the sensible, responsible part, screamed no. But the other part that had been dormant for far too long, whispered a hesitant, maybe. Deborah, sensing my internal battle, didn't push. Instead, she pulled out her phone and said, All right, no pressure. But how about I show you a picture of this guy I know? He's new in town, but let me tell you, the man is a masterpiece. Paul? Built. She scrolled through her phone for a moment, then turned the screen towards me. Feast your eyes on that, honey. My breath hitched. The man in the photo was undeniably attractive. Athletic build, chiseled jaw, a mischievous glint in his eyes. Well, what do you think? Think you could handle a night with him? Deborah teased, raising an eyebrow. I swallowed hard, my cheeks flushed. Okay, maybe just a peek. Before I could overthink it, Deborah was on the phone, her voice a mix of honey and steel. Hey there, Ethan, honey, it's Deborah. Listen, I've got a friend who's curious. You available later today? Yeah, the usual arrangement. And Ethan, make sure you bring your game for this one. She's special. Don't worry, Deborah. I always do. A deep voice chuckled from the other end of the line. That's what I like to hear. All right, sweetie. See you later tonight, and make sure you bring your appetite. This girl's got a sweet tooth. Always do, Deborah, especially for you. Right, I'll text you the details later. Deborah snapped her phone shut, a mischievous glint in her eyes. So it's a date then? This afternoon work for you? Wait, you're coming with me? I asked, surprised. Of course, silly. Moral support, you know? We'll get separate rooms naturally, unless… She waggled her eyebrows suggestively. Deborah? I swatted her arm playfully. I can't believe you'd even suggest that. And besides, how can you be sure I'll be comfortable meeting him like that? Oh, relax, Nina. It'll be fun. Trust me, I've known Ethan for a while now. He's a true professional. Discreet, respectful, and… She leaned in close, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, amazingly talented. All right, I'll go. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the unknown. Just promise me one thing. He's clean, right? Honey, please. Cleaner than a whistle. I wouldn't steer you wrong. Now, come on. Let's hit the shops. I need a new dress for tonight, and you could use a little something to boost your confidence. Nothing says I'm back, baby. Like a little retail therapy. By 3 p.m. that afternoon, I was a nervous wreck. I'd spent the past few hours meticulously applying makeup, styling my hair, and slipping into a dress that hugged my curves in all the right places. A touch of my favorite French perfume. Final glance in the mirror, and I was ready. Well, as ready as I could be. I pulled out a wad of cash, $10,000, from my secret stash, tucked it into my purse, and waited for Deborah's arrival. 10 minutes later, familiar yellow cab pulled up outside. Ready for a taste of heaven, darling? Deborah asked, eyes sparkling with mischief, as I slid into the back seat. I don't know about heaven, but I'm definitely nervous. Are you sure about this, Deborah? He is clean, right? Honey, relax. I told you he's cleaner than a nun's conscience. And trust me, once you've had a taste, you'll be hooked. Now about that little stack you've got there, 10 grand? Honey, you trying to buy the man's heart? Is that too much? This is new territory for me, Deborah. I wasn't sure. Darling, for a first-timer, you're already spoiling him. My first time, I just slipped the guy a couple $100, and that was after a month of dating. Besides, it's not just about the money, honey. It's about the connection, chemistry. Though a little generosity never hurts. Winked. Besides, we're strong, independent women. We get to choose what we want when we want it, and who we want it with. Deborah led me down a dimly lit hallway, stopping in front of a door at the very end. Here we are, darling. Your chariot awaits. She winked, pulling a keycard from her purse. The door swung open, revealing a dimly lit room. 2 young men, both looking barely older than my son, sat on the edge of the bed. My breath caught in my throat. Well, hello there, boys, Deborah drawled, her voice dripping with honey. One of the men, a tall, muscular guy with a mischievous grin, got to his feet and greeted Deborah with a quick kiss on the lips. He then turned to me, his eyes lingering a little too long on my figure. Hey there, I'm Ethan. Nice to meet you. He offered me a dazzling smile, and I felt my cheeks flush. He really was handsome, a boyish charm that belied a more rugged physique. Still, the fact that he was practically young enough to be my son made my head spin. I managed a small, awkward nod, unsure how to address him. Sensing my discomfort, Deborah squeezed my hand reassuringly. All right, you two lovebirds, we'll leave you to get acquainted. Come on, honey. Let's give them some privacy. She winked at her companion, pulling him towards the door. See you later, Ethan. Be good to my friend here. She's a keeper. And with that, they were gone, leaving me alone with Ethan. He watched them go, then turned back to me, gaze intense. So Nina, was it? Deborah tells me you're looking for a good time. His voice was low and husky, sending shivers down my spine. I shifted nervously, unsure how to respond. This whole situation felt surreal, like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. Look, we can skip the small talk if you want. I know you're not here for my sparkling personality, he chuckled, and I couldn't help but notice the way his shirt stretched across his broad chest. So how about we cut to the chase? I'm available for the whole night if you're interested. Exclusive access, VIP treatment, whole 9 yards, or we can keep things short and sweet, whatever you're in the mood for. His straightforwardness was almost jarring. Was this what it was like then? No pretense, no awkward first date jitters, just business? He named his prices. Monthly fee for a more regular arrangement or a one-time payment for a single encounter. My head spun. 20 grand a month was more than I spent on groceries in a year. But the way he was looking at me, with a mixture of confidence and genuine interest, maybe we should start with a drink. I finally managed, my voice barely a whisper. Now you're talking. A slow smile spread across his face. How about a beer or something stronger? Beer is fine, I said, suddenly desperate for something to calm my nerves. He pulled 2 cold beers from a nearby cooler, and we sat down on the edge of the bed, the tension in the room as thick as the humid summer air. As we drank, we talked about our lives, our dreams, our disappointments. Well, I talked. He mostly listened, his gaze never leaving my face, and for the first time that day, I felt a sense of connection. We talked some more, getting to know each other better. I finished my beer and felt the alcohol starting to take effect. A pleasant warmth spread through my body, and Ethan's flirtatious glances were making me feel giddy. He effortlessly lifted me from the bed, his touch surprisingly gentle. I probably didn't meet many 45-year-olds who could still turn heads like me. I've always taken pride in my curves, and it seemed Ethan appreciated them too. My skin felt electric under his gaze, and a wave of dizziness washed over me. Ethan leaned in close, his breath warm against my ear as he whispered, "Don't worry, Nina. I'll show you exactly what you've been missing. I can tell you're craving something. More." His words, laced with a knowing confidence, sent shivers down my spine. Was it that obvious? Did my yearning for passion radiate from every pore? His kisses, starting soft and playful, soon deepened, erasing any lingering doubts. He pulled me closer. I found myself melting against him. The feeling was intoxicating, unlike anything I'd experienced before. A potent mix of desire, excitement, and the thrill of the forbidden. In that moment, all thoughts of Richard, toiling away at some distant construction site, vanished from my mind. I was no longer a wife, a mother, a responsible business owner. I was simply Nina, a woman rediscovering her sensuality. An hour later, I lay spent, my body still tingling from Ethan's touch. He was a natural, his confidence and strength awakening a side of me I thought was long gone. Despite the initial aches and the raw intimacy of it all, I couldn't remember ever feeling so alive. Curled up beside him, his arm draped possessively over my waist, I felt a deep sense of contentment. It was almost shameful how easily I had succumbed, how quickly my guilt had given way to pure, unadulterated pleasure. What had I been so afraid of all these years? I inhaled his scent, a heady mix of cologne and male musk, and a wave of disgust washed over me. Disgust for myself, for betraying Richard, but mostly disgust for ever settling for anything less than this. As I lay there, tangled in Ethan's arms, my phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was Deborah. "You done yet?" Text read, "Just finished. You heading out? I can wait here if you want." Reluctant to face the outside world just yet. "Girl, are you kidding? I'm about to die of boredom over here. Wait for me. We need to dish about all the details." I smiled, shaking my head at her eagerness. We were like teenagers again, giggling over our first crushes. I slipped out of bed and headed for the bathroom, grabbing the wad of cash I'd brought with me. Ethan watched me go, a lazy smile playing on his lips. I handed him the money, my cheeks burning with a mix of embarrassment and exhilaration. "Here, this is for you." He took the money, his fingers brushing against mine. "Thanks, babe. Here's something else. So, I'll think about, the arrangement and let you know." I stammered, suddenly feeling shy. "No pressure, Nina." He winked, leaning back against the headboard. "I'm here whenever you're ready." Minutes later, I was back in Deborah's car, a strange mix of emotions swirling inside me. "So, how'd it go?" she asked, her eyebrows wiggling suggestively. "He was," I stammered, unsure how to describe the whirlwind of emotions still swirling inside me. "He was amazing," I finally admitted, slow blush creeping up my neck. "Ethan really knows what he's doing." Deborah threw her head back and laughed, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Told you. An hour with that man is better than a year with some husbands. Do you know what I mean?" "Don't I know it?" Sighed, both exhilarated and slightly terrified by what I'd just done. "So a weekly cleanse it is then? One afternoon a week to keep life exciting?" Deborah chuckled, linking her arm through mine as we started walking. Well, about that. The thought of seeing Ethan again sent a shiver of anticipation down my spine, but the thought of Richard, of what I was doing to him, the guilt was a heavy weight in my stomach. What if Richard finds out? Honey, please. He's out of state half the time. And trust me, men like Richard, they're clueless. Mine's been none the wiser for years. You just gotta be smart about it, discreet. But 20 grand a month, that's a lot of money, Deborah. Honey, you want passion? Passion costs money. Besides, think of it as an investment. In yourself. You think you want to be stuck with boring old Richard for the rest of your life? Life's too short to deny yourself a little fun, Nina. There's a whole world of excitement out there, just waiting for you to grab it. I hesitated, torn between my desire for Ethan and my loyalty to Richard. Listen, don't overthink it, okay? Just try it out, see how it feels. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But if it is... She trailed off, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Well, let's just say you might end up thanking me. Okay, I'll think about it. The truth was, I'd already made up my mind. Ethan was too tempting, the allure of his touch too powerful to resist. That evening, as I pulled into my driveway, I was surprised to see Richard's car parked in the garage. He was supposed to be gone for another week. A wave of guilt washed over me as I saw him through the kitchen window, humming to himself as he cooked dinner. Why hadn't he called? Then it hit me. He always called. It was our routine. Just as the thought crossed my mind, the phone rang. Hey, honey, you home yet? Richard's familiar voice filled my ear. I just got home. Where are you? How come you didn't call? I stumbled over my words, my voice shaky. What's wrong, babe? You sound out of breath, and why are you whispering? Oh, it's nothing. Just a little winded. Had to run some errands. I'm already home, babe. Thought I'd surprise you. Surprise? I could practically hear the smile in his voice. What's all that clattering? You okay? Oh, yeah. I dropped something. Everything's fine. I'll be right there. I hung up the phone, my heart pounding in my chest. Richard was home, and he was making dinner. A wave of nausea washed over me as I realized what day it was. How could I have forgotten? It was my birthday. He'd made all my favorites. Richard always did remember my birthday, even if he didn't always make a big fuss over it. I walked into the kitchen, a wave of guilt washing over me as I saw him standing at the stove, a sheepish smile on his face. Happy birthday, sweetheart. He turned and pulled me into a hug, its familiar scent enveloping me. It was a comforting scent that spoke of home and stability and years of shared history. And for a moment, I felt a pang of regret. What was I doing? Oh, Richard, you shouldn't have, I mumbled, burying my face in his chest, hoping he wouldn't notice the lingering scent of Ethan's cologne on my skin. Nonsense, Nina. It's your birthday. Besides, it's been so quiet around here without you. I figured you could use a good home-cooked meal. He pulled away, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. So what did you get up to today? You seem different. I laughed nervously, hoping my voice didn't betray my guilt. What do you mean? I don't know, you just seem extra beautiful tonight. He smiled, and for a moment I felt a flicker of the love that had drawn us together all those years ago. Anyway, I got you a little something. He pulled out a wad of cash from his wallet, brand new $100 bills still crisp from the bank. My stomach churned. Was this how it was going to be now? Me accepting gifts from my husband, gifts funded by his hard work while I spent my afternoons tangled up with another man? Richard, you shouldn't have. I started to protest, but he just waved me off. Nonsense, sweetheart. Go buy yourself something nice. You deserve it. I ate dinner in a daze, my mind replaying the events of the afternoon. The guilt was a heavy weight in my stomach, but it was overshadowed by a strange sense of anticipation. Ethan's number was burned into my memory. It would be so easy to call him, to arrange another meeting. That night, after Richard had fallen asleep, I lay awake, my body aching in places I hadn't even known existed. My phone buzzed softly on the nightstand. Text from Ethan. Good morning. Beautiful. Hope you're ready for round 2. I stared at the message, a slow smile spreading across my lips. It had been a long time since I'd woken up to a text message like that. A long time since I'd felt this, desired. Richard left for the construction site early the next morning, his usual gruff goodbye echoing through the empty house. I was alone again, alone with my thoughts, my guilt, and a growing sense of longing that seemed to intensify with each passing hour. I tried to distract myself with work, but it was no use. All I could think about was Ethan. His touch, his scent, the way he made me feel alive. At this rate, I was practically a teenager again, ruled by my hormones and a reckless desire for Ethan's touch. And then it hit me. Why was I fighting this? 20 grand a month, a drop in the bucket compared to what was stashed away in my secret account. Richard had no idea how much was in there, how carefully I'd squirreled away money over the years. He was too trusting, too oblivious, to ever suspect a thing. Deborah's words echoed in my mind. Enjoy it while it lasts, honey. You think you can shake it like this when you're 80? She was right. Life was too short to deny myself. I grabbed my phone and sent Ethan a text. It was time to make this arrangement official. 20 grand a month for his exclusive attention. And so began our affair. Ethan, unburdened by commitments, fell easily into the role of devoted lover. My only concern was discretion. Richard, his age, wasn't exactly tech-savvy, so I wasn't too worried about him discovering my secret phone, especially after I changed the password. Besides, he was gone for weeks at a time. What he didn't know wouldn't hurt him. Our usual meeting spot was Ethan's place, cozy little apartment not far from the motel where we'd first met. Felt safer, more intimate somehow, and it saved me the cost of renting a room. The thrill of sneaking around, living a double life, only fueled my desire. And Ethan? He was everything Richard wasn't, young, virile, and eager to please. I showered him with gifts, lavishing him with new clothes, a state-of-the-art gaming console, even a brand-new refrigerator because, well, a girl's gotta eat. His happiness was my priority, and besides, it wasn't like I couldn't afford it. Then summer arrived, and with it, my daughter Sophia, home from college for a few weeks. She was a good girl, my Sophia, always helping out around the house, a stark contrast to her carefree younger years. Still, she was 21, responsible, studious, far too serious for her own good. One Sunday morning, I stumbled out of bed at the ungodly hour of 9 a.m., my body still aching from a particularly strenuous night with Ethan. Sophia, already up and dressed, was sorting through a stack of bills at the kitchen table. Mom, seriously? It's Sunday. Why aren't you out with your friends? Better yet, on a date? You spend way too much time cooped up here. You need a life. Oh, honey, don't be silly, I mumbled, my head pounding as I reached coffee pot. Seriously, Mom, how are you ever going to meet someone if you never leave the house? Sophia, darling, you make it sound like I'm some desperate housewife. I have a life. I have you. Exactly. You only had me because you started dating young. I'm 21 and I haven't even had a serious boyfriend yet. Are there even any cute guys in this town? There are plenty of fish in the sea, sweetheart. You just need to cast a wider net. I chuckled, handing her a cup of coffee. Speaking of which, I'm heading to Deborah's later. I'll make dinner tonight, okay? She'd mentioned going to Deborah's, but I knew my daughter. She was headed straight for a date with that cute boy she'd been texting. Not that I could blame her. Young love was intoxicating. Hours later, as I lay entangled with Ethan, my phone started ringing. Sophia. Ethan shifted beside me, his hand moving to cup my breast. Who is it, babe? Trying to steal me away already? It's my daughter. She's home from college for a few weeks. I reached for my phone, my breath still ragged from our lovemaking. Mom? Is everything okay? You sound weird. Everything's fine, honey. What's up? Mom, are you sure you're okay? You sound like you've been running a marathon. I'm fine, darling. Just a little out of breath. What's going on? Did your father call you? Is everything all right? Yeah, Dad's home. He said to tell you to come home as soon as possible. There was a slight pause then. Why would he need you home urgently, Mom? Are you sure everything's okay? Of course, honey. Everything's fine. I'm a little busy right now, but I'll be home soon. Don't worry. I hung up quickly, my heart pounding in my chest. Ethan pulled me close, nuzzling my neck. What was that about, babe? Everything okay? It's fine. It's fine. Just a little family drama. Don't stop on my account. I'm enjoying myself way too much. And it was true. For the first time in years, I felt desired. Alive. An hour later, I was back home, my mind racing. As I walked in the door, I was hit with the familiar scent of Richard's cologne and a wave of something I couldn't quite place. Shame? Regret? Or was it disgust? Disgust at myself, for the lies I'd told, for betraying my husband, for being the kind of woman who snuck around behind her family's back. But deep down, beneath the guilt and the shame, a darker, more insidious thought took root. Couldn't stop. Not now. The money, Richard's hard-earned money, that I'd spent so freely on my young lover, it was nothing compared to the pleasure, the sheer, unadulterated pleasure I'd experienced in Ethan's arms. It was an addiction, I realized, this need for his touch, for the way he made me feel seen. And like any addict, I craved another hit. Soon,